What is up, my friends? You're very welcome along to another frustrated, angry player ratings video here on Anfield Agenda after Liverpool have somehow gone to Molineux and lost by 2-1. As always, I want to start off by crediting our opponents. Well done to Rob Edwards and his team. They did their job, showed fight for the manager and kept going till the end. For us, it's another frustrating 90 minutes, another boring performance, another turgid display from Arne Slot's Liverpool, and we're going to go through giving the players, the manager, the substitutes and the referee all a score out of 10. If you'd like to play along, feel free to do so in the comment section. If you've already submitted your player scores, thank you very much. You'll see 2 scores on every player card. The upper right hand corner is the average audience score and the large square in the centre is my score. If you'd like to submit your player ratings moving forward and enter into our giveaway, we'll be giving away a signed item every single month in 2026. In January, we gave away a signed Steven Gerrard shirt. In February, it was a signed Jurgen Klopp shirt. And in March, as you can see, it's a signed Kenny Dalglish shirt, completely free. Scan that QR code or use the link in the description. That will bring you into the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp, which is also where you can submit your player ratings for future games. Right, let's get stuck into it and talk about the referee first. Look, there was a couple of decisions, as there always will be, where you disagree with the referee. And there was once or twice I did think that Ekitike was fouled and he didn't give it. Apart from that, I actually liked that he let a lot of stuff go. I think he went a bit too far in that direction, but he isn't the reason why we didn't win that game today. So for me, I'm giving the referee a score of 6. The audience have gone 3.4. And honestly, I don't want this to be about us blaming the referee. There are small margins and small things we might be unhappy about. But if we're looking to vent our frustration here, I don't think it should be aimed squarely at the referee, more the man in charge of the Liverpool Football Club, Arne Slot. Moving on now to Alisson Becker. This is one of the rare occasions where I do have something negative to say about Alisson. And it's very un-Alisson-like, but he panicked when that ball was played back to him at the end of the game. And we have a phrase in football that you've all been taught as kids if you're playing in any defensive positions. If in doubt, put it out. And that's what he should have done. But instead, he played a hurried ball into midfield, straight to a Wolves player. They go down, shoot, it deflects off Gomez, and we lose the game 2-1. That isn't the Alisson Becker that we're all used to. So for that, I'm going to give Alisson a score of 5 today. And the audience have gone a bit lower with a score there for Ali of 4.1. Next up, Jeremie Frimpong. Great to see him back in the starting 11. No surprise that he was substituted at about 65. That would have been pre-planned because of, obviously, his medical situation coming back from an injury. So, did think he was all right when he was on the pitch. Again, would have liked to have seen him a little bit further forward, maybe a little bit earlier. I do appreciate that he could only do 65, but there is no argument for keeping Mohamed Salah on that pitch today, and I would have liked to have seen Frimpong pushed a bit further forward with Mohamed Salah taken off. That being said, look, I thought he was okay today, but we're going to have better days ahead. He needs to get his shooting boot sorted out, by the way, because it's one he had there in the first half again that I don't think he'll want to see a replay of it. But for Jeremie today, I'm giving him a score of 6, and the audience have gone with a 4.8. Moving on now to Ibrahima Konate. Look, both of our centre-backs today weren't their usual composed, dominant selves. Virgil was pushed off the ball and bullied. Konate was sometimes out of position, but I thought he was the better of the 2 centre-backs. That being said, we're again just so easy to play through and so easy to get at. So for Konate today, ladies and gents, I'm going to give him a score of 5. The audience have gone a bit lower with a 4.7, but I don't think he was as big of a problem as our captain was today. And we move on to Virgil now. Look, he lost a physical battle, which is something that you don't usually say about Virgil van Dijk. And yes, you could feel a bit sympathy for him that he was lent into or pushed, but that is the way it is these days in the Prem. And you've got to be bigger, stronger and physically imposing. And at the other end of the pitch, well, we didn't really have anything today from set pieces. The deliveries weren't great, didn't give Virgil or Konate anything to fight for. He did have a header that he headed straight at Jose Sa, but I think he probably had creeped into an offside position anyway. But what really wound me up about Virgil today was his post-match comments. It's just, again, just ignoring the reality of the situation. Just say it, Virgil. We aren't good enough. The tactics aren't good enough. The players aren't performing well enough. Just say it. So for Virgil, it's a 4.5 from me, and it's a 4.2 from the Anfield Agenda audience. Moving into Milos Kerkez now. I thought he was all right, to be honest. Kind of flattered to deceive. Didn't really get any opportunities to overlap from Cody Gakpo. He played some nice 1-2s in the first half down the left side. But again, Cody keeps cutting inside, keeps ignoring the ability for Milos to go in the overlap. And there were times I seen in that first half in particular, he was screaming, waving his arms, looking for a switch of play that wasn't coming to him. So again, for Milos, I don't think it was the worst of performances. So I'm going to give him a score of 5.5. And the audience have gone a little bit lower with a 4.9. Now, though, we move into the area of the pitch where I do have big problems. And this man should know better than what he did today. Picked himself up an early yellow and just kept walking that tightrope, making stupid fouls and had to be substituted. The manager was left with no choice but to substitute him. A professional of his standing should know a little bit better how to manage the game than that. So very disappointed in Ryan today, as I have been for a good chunk of this season. He just hasn't been at the races. So for him today, it's a score of 3. And the audience have gone a little bit higher with a 3.2 for Ryan. Now we move on to Macca, who has had somewhat of a resurgence recently, getting himself on the score sheet in a couple of games. I don't like that he was lying on the ground at one point today. I didn't like that our players were lying down there and not getting back up to sprint back and help out. It isn't a good sign. It's not a good mindset to be in. And of all the battling qualities that Alexis Mac Allister does have, that was a little bit disappointing to see. All in all today, though, again, it's just another abject performance from our midfielders. We're too easy to play through. You could drive an articulated lorry, and we say this every week, through the middle of our midfield. It's just non-existent. So for Macca today, I'm giving him a 5, and the audience have gone lower, giving him a score of 4. I don't think he was the problem in midfield today as much as others were. And on that, Dominik Szoboszlai, fresh with his ridiculous new hairdo, just disappointing. Just not what we would have wanted and not what we know he's capable of. He wasn't the only one, though. This was just a poor performance all around, and I feel really difficult about singling out anybody outside of the two wide players for real criticism, because the whole team failed. The tactics failed. Everything failed. The motivation wasn't there. The effort wasn't there. And it was another particularly turgid first 45. And there's no room for that, and there's no excuse for that. So for Dom today, I'm giving him a score of 5.5 because, like I said, I don't think he was the worst of the bunch. And the audience have gone with a score for Dominik of 4.7. Moving on now to Cody Gakpo. Look, I've tried to say I think Cody's come in for a little bit of extra flack. And even Steven Gerrard talking about Rio having to play and Cody doing nothing in the game. That's fair enough, but we can't ignore the other side of the pitch as well. Both of our wide players this season have been nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near it. Cody Gakpo, we've always known about his limitations. We've always known there are things that he can't do. He isn't dynamic enough. He doesn't have the ability to go on the outside and take men on and beat them for fun. We just know what he is. So, in my opinion, he should have been left on the pitch today, and Mohamed Salah should have been taken off if we were only going to bring Rio on and make one wide change. I know we brought somebody on a little bit later on, but for me, Gakpo shouldn't have been the one to make way. It should have been Mohamed Salah, and it should have been a half-time. That being said, though, Cody was again ineffective and just poor, as he has been for a good chunk of this season. So, score for him is a 4, and the audience have gone even lower there with a 2.7. Mohamed Salah, this is the man today for me that really stunk the gaff up more than anybody else out there. His misplaced passes, his corners that weren't beating the first man, his wrong decision making in the final third and when to release the ball, and the goal that he scored was gifted to him, make no mistake about it. It was passed to him and he was clean through on goal. He has been nowhere near it, and most importantly today, his attitude again stunk. Didn't look like he gave a shit. Didn't look like he cared out there. He wasn't the only one, but I'm going to say it again. I think the fact that Arne Slot is the manager has a big part to do with all of this. You can always say the players should play for the shirt and the badge, and that's fair enough. Mohamed Salah has had plenty of credit in the bank over the years, but this season, it's been, yes, somewhat him getting a little bit older. I just get the feeling, though, there is a divide in that dressing room on the manager, and I really don't think he's ever put that situation to bed. So for me, Mo today gets a score of 3, and the audience have gone with a score of 4 there for Mo. But I honestly think he was the worst player on the park today for us. I really do. Next up, Hugo Ekitike. I actually think he was okay. I think he put himself about, always came looking for the ball, always gave an opportunity to run into the channels, always made himself available, but he can't do it all on his own. Wasn't really given much ammunition with regards to the 18-yard box or chances, so not really going to moan at him for not getting on the score sheet. But ultimately, I thought that he grafted, put effort in, and ran the hard yards, and that counts for a lot with me. So for Hugo, I'm giving him a score of 6.5. and the audience have gone with a 4.7. Do let me know your thoughts on it, though. I do think at least he put himself about. He does need to work in his head, and we've talked about that before, but you're never going to get a lack of effort from him. And there was some nice work down the left and some interplay with Milos Kerkez at times as well that I enjoyed. Now, though, we move on to Curtis Jones. I'm going to say exactly what you think I'm going to say, is that he takes too much out of the ball. I don't know what he was doing at the corner flag in that moment of the game where he was dicking about and then he passed it back to Alisson. Just not good enough. And again, I'd be absolutely amazed if we don't see a big decision made about Curtis Jones' future at the club moving forward, because it's gone on too long now. He's still playing like he's an underage player that thinks he's the best kid out in the park and always wants the ball and always wants to take too much out of it, make stuff happen. He thinks in his head that he's Dominik Szoboszlai, but he isn't, unfortunately. So for me, Curtis today, give him a score of 4, because he didn't really offer us much when he came on other than causing us a problem, and the audience have gone for 4.3. Next up, Andy Robertson. Again, I struggle to really think of anything good, bad or indifferent that Robbo did today. Came on, put in effort as he always does, but at that point it was a lost cause. We were just all over the shop, and the manager made a change, probably looking to freshen it up, maybe give us another dimension, maybe thinking Andy Robertson's experience could help us out. But again, we didn't really create anything, and I'm not saying Robbo's at fault with that, but yeah, it was a substitution that didn't really impact the game in a positive way. So for Robbo, I'm giving him a 4.5, and the audience have given exactly the same. We move on now to Rio Ngumoha. Very unfortunate, hit the post with a little shot that ricocheted off the heel of the defender. But as Stephen Gerrard said, what does he have to see to start this kid? He's the only one in the wide positions that looked like he could make something happen. So I don't know what more we have to say as fans, what more the media have to write, what more former players have to say. But the fact that Arne didn't pick him to start that game today is an indictment of the manager and nothing else. Nobody thinks that Mohamed Salah and Cody Gakpo are deserving to start games anymore. Nobody. But he won't make that decision. And that's because he's a coward. No other reason. It's not to protect Rio. It's not because he doesn't rate him. It's because he's a coward. That's it. And I'm going to die on that hill, because he should be playing Rio Ngumoha at this point. There's no defence anymore. There just isn't one. So for Rio, I think he did okay when he came on. I'm going to give him a score of 6. He was unlucky not to get on the score sheet. Still a couple of things, a couple of passes that went astray, a few little things, but he's a kid. He's a youngster learning his trade, so expect mistakes to come. But he's not frightened, He's not afraid to try something. And again, he looked like he was at least trying to make something happen when he came on. So he'll always get credit from me for that. And it's a 5.7 from the audience. Now, look, I know I've kind of rabbited on a little bit in this video at times, but I'm truly at the end of my tether. I'm absolutely frustrated with where Liverpool fans find themselves at. From a start to the season where we were full of optimism and dreaming about what was to come, to where we are right now. And that's down to one man, and one man only. And you know I'm right. It's down to Arne. He sapped all the good, all the enjoyment, all the goodwill out of the football club. Joe Gomez, good to see him out there onto the park. Again, it was a substitution that I'm sure would have been pre-planned to come on. I would have liked it a little bit earlier, in all honesty, as I've mentioned, because Mohamed Salah was clearly not at it. But look, Joe put in a decent shift. I don't really like him turning away from the ball when there's a shot aimed at our goal, but it ricocheted off his ankles, went past Alisson. You know, nothing really anybody could have done about that. So for Joe, I'm going to give him a score of 5, and the audience have gone with a 4.4. Then Chiesa, truthfully, I'm not trying to be a smart ass here. I didn't even know he'd come onto the pitch until I looked up at 1 second and seen him with a clearance. So for Fede, I'm just going to say a 4.5, because I don't really remember him doing anything else, and the audience have gone for a 4.3, but I'll be the first one to admit I don't really remember much of Chiesa out there. And then we move on to Arne. The gall of this man to once again go to a post-match interview and talk about the league and talk about being unlucky and talk about all the waffle that he's come along with this year. This man just is not cut out for this job. This man just does not have it, the X factor, the machismo, the personality. He just doesn't have it. Fans aren't buying into it, and we can't be forced into it. The relationship just isn't there. The club have to do the decent thing and relieve him of his duties, because they are just sapping all the enjoyment out of fans' football. All of it. And it's down to that man. Make no mistake about it. I'm not saying he's a bad human being, but I am saying he's uninspiring. I am saying that he's too frustrating, and I am saying that he's too pig-headed, and he's not going to change. So he needs to be removed, in my opinion. He needs to be he needs to be relieved of his duties, and he needs to be sacked as Liverpool head coach. That's my take on it. Score-wise, I'm going to give him a 3 because that's pretty much the lowest score I give people on here. And the audience, well, you can see exactly where their heads are at. A 1.4. Nobody believes in this manager. Nobody. Even the ones that were trying to bite their tongue came on today and said, look, we've seen enough. That's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. Over to you. We'll be back again tomorrow. We'll have the podcast. We'll have a video. We'll have a preview coming out because, believe it or not, we have Wolves again on Friday. We'll see you then. Much love and thank you once again for your support.